This is the Ninja DoubleStack air fryer designed to make more meals while saving counter space. I'm going to be testing it out, covering its design, features and ease of use. Inside the box you'll find the user manual and recipe guide, a pair of silicone tongs and the main unit. And for us Canadians, there is also a separate stick-on label in French, which is so much better than having the display panel cluttered with so much text. This way you can choose which language you want to have on the display panel. Although now I think they did it because there wasn't enough room to accommodate both English and French. There are vents located on the right side of the unit, one for the top basket and one for the bottom, and then the air vents at the back. First off, this air fryer is heavy, weighing in at just over 21 pounds. So find a good stable spot on your counter because it's not the easiest to move around. There's not a lot of room to grasp onto it, especially if you have bigger hands. So the idea behind this stacked design is to double the cooking area without taking up too much counter space, as do the side-by-side basket designs. But in making this design, they had to be careful not to make it too tall, otherwise it won't fit under your kitchen cabinets. But they had to keep it wide enough to fit enough food in the basket, and this is why they decided to place the display panel on the side here. So let's do some quick measurements. Roughly the height is about 15 inches. I still have about 5 inches between the top of the unit and my cabinets. It's about 11.5 to 12 inches wide, taking into account the display panel sticking out. And then the depth starting from the handle all the way to the back is about 18 inches or just less than. The cord length is 31 inches. And if you're wondering about the difference between this 8-quarter SL200 series versus the SL400 series, which is the extra large 10-quarter basket version, then first of all, of course, the baskets are slightly bigger. So instead of a 4-quarter basket, you have 2 5-quarter baskets. Then the other big difference you will see is that the XL has a turn dial instead of push buttons, which I think is much better because you do have to push a lot of buttons before you can even begin to press start. Plus I have a feeling the push buttons may wear out over time. The size and weight, however, isn't very much different either. The SL400 XL weighs 2 pounds more, so 23 pounds. It has the same height at around 15 inches. It's also 11 inches wide, but the depth is just over 19 inches from the handle to the back of the unit. So it will stick out a bit further, about an inch or so on your counter. Getting back to this model, when I first took out the basket, my first impression was how tiny and cute it was. It's not very wide, but they have made it quite deep so that you can fit 2 layers of cooking in it. Taking a look at the crisper tray, it has the same design as that used in the Ninja Speedy, with this handle design that many of us struggle to lift up when it's hot. The idea here is that you will use silicone tongs to grasp it and lift it up. Unfortunately, the tongs that Ninja provided doesn't even fit under the handle. So you will need to use some with a bit of a narrow shape at the front. There are 6 silicone tabs which don't seem to be removable, so I don't know how this will do when cleaning, especially when a lot of grease builds up under there, so that's a little concerning. At the back of the basket there are vents to allow heat to circulate through from the back, which is where they've placed the heating element, and I'll get to that in a little while. Place the crisper tray in the lower position by using the cutouts to slide it over these notches, or rotate the tray so that it can sit on the notches when you want to place it in the upper position. You'll do that if you want to get extra crispy results like for chicken wings. Then we have the meal rack, which is to be used when you want to cook another layer of food. You'll place the crisper tray in the lower position and place this meal rack on top to sit on the side notches. And when you cook using the meal rack, that's when you need to select the DoubleStack Pro button. That should be your simple reminder. 2 layers means selecting DoubleStack Pro. Otherwise you don't need to press it. The bottom basket also has the same accessories. However, I struggled to open it for a few minutes because the cardboard was getting caught on the top lip of the unit. I needed to find something thin and flexible enough to hold down the cardboard, and my silicone spatula came to the rescue. So if you find yourself having the same issue, you know what to do. Taking a look inside the unit, you can see the heating elements and the fan positioned at the back on both levels instead of at the top like you normally see with air fryers. This had to be done because of the stack design. I am hopeful that this is going to be much better because it should allow the heat to circulate more evenly when you're using 2 layers to cook in the basket. This should also make it easier to clean the heating element area when the time comes to doing a deep clean. The display panel is as user-friendly as they could make it, but like I said, the push buttons for making selections and adjustments are tedious at times, and the turn dial is a much better feature. I tested whether the DoubleStack Pro button made any difference by first cooking without selecting it. I placed wings in one basket and potato wedges in the other. Without the feature, the top layer in both baskets cooked much faster than the bottom. When I activated the DoubleStack Pro option, both the top and bottom layers cooked evenly. It seems that when you use this setting, the fan distributes heat more evenly across both layers. When using double baskets, you have to use a lot of judgment in choosing the right foods to pair together. Avoid adding frozen food with fresh food in one basket, as that will hinder the cooking results. You also want to pair foods that have similar cooking times in the same basket. The manual states that there is an auto pause feature when you open the baskets, but that doesn't seem to be the case with this model, at least not for mine. If you do need to stop cooking, you have to press the pause button, but remember it pauses both baskets at the same time. Or if you only want to pause one of the baskets, you need to select the basket before you press pause. When you're cooking in both of the baskets at the same time, the food does take slightly longer to cook, so you will need to almost double the time compared to single basket cooking. While the Smart Finish feature is a great feature to have, it does need a bit of planning when it comes to food pairing between the baskets. You need to constantly monitor your foods, and you may need to make multiple adjustments, especially to timings. It also requires remembering steps like turning off the DoubleStack Pro button if you decide to take out one of the layers. So while it does have potential, it can be quite exhausting to use. To make it easier for yourself and less juggling around with settings, etc., it's best to stick to similar food types in one basket, at least until you get the hang of using it, because I have a feeling this one will involve a lot of trial and error to get everything right. I made 2 identical food items, but both were seasoned slightly different. The ability to keep my salted from unsalted was great. I used match cook on air fry mode, and I set the time to 45 minutes, not realizing that I should have pressed the DoubleStack Pro button before setting the time, because it defaults back to 20 minutes. These are some little things to remember in the beginning, and hopefully you will get the hang of it. There is no turn reminder, so you either need to keep an eye on the time, set an alarm on your phone, or you can add shorter times for when you want to flip and shake your food, then reset the time again if that's easier to do. The Ninja DoubleStack air fryer does have a lot to offer: independent basket controls, multi-layer cooking racks, and features like Smart Finish and Match Cook. The DoubleStack Pro button should only be used when cooking multiple layers, and it can be used when cooking in both baskets or single basket. The feature of the double layer cooking is nothing new though. I've used the Gourmet air fryers for years, and they always came with an extra rack. The only difference is the heating element was placed at the top rather than at the back, which I think Gourmet dropped the ball on, because now Ninja has trademarked this design and called it their DoubleStack Pro technology. From using the Gourmet air fryers, I've always found when cooking 2 layers, heat from the top never circulates to the bottom because it's always being blocked by the food on the top layer. Plus, the top layer always cooks much faster than the bottom layer, simply because it's closer to the heating element. But Ninja have found a way to deal with this issue, and by placing the heating element at the back and adding the DoubleStack Pro button, it definitely does distribute the heat between the top and bottom layers. The unit does blow out hot air from the side vents, so be careful not to place anything too close to it. And I did find the unit overall gets quite hot from top to bottom. The unit will also blow out air if you don't pause the machine and you take out one of the baskets. So also be careful if there are any young children around, and keep it away from yourself as well. It also operates very loudly. I don't know how Ninja can come out with so many inventions, but they can't figure out how to make them operate a little quieter. Even their beeps are so loud. They should at least add the option to lower it down or even turn it off. Whenever I cooked and removed the baskets, I found myself placing them on the counter, only to realize I was slowly spreading across the whole kitchen. Plus, while I made sure to have heat-resistant holders to handle the meal racks, I often scrambled to find enough heat-resistant mats to set the baskets or trays down on. Eventually, it made cooking multiple recipes at once feel like I had less counter space, not more. If you're new to air frying or want a more set it and leave it option, this might feel a little overwhelming at first and will require lots of trial and error to make the most of its cooking features. Some thought and planning are required, particularly when pairing foods or adjusting cook times. And if noise or lack of reminders is a deal breaker for you, these are just some of the things to consider. At the end of the day, it's a powerful machine with a learning curve. Once you've figured out the right combinations and timings, you may enjoy using it. But if you're after a simpler, quieter option with less monitoring required, there are better options out there for you. Alright guys, I hope you found this review useful. Please don't forget to give this video a like, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I do plan to make another video to show the various things I made in the Ninja DoubleStack air fryer. If you would like to catch that, then please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Or if you would like to see more of my kitchen appliance reviews, please go ahead and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in my next video.